everyone, I'm Mary Piggott and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the characteristics of 21st century learners. So I just went through each article that we were supposed to read and I picked out some things that kind of resonated with me, and so I'm just going to go through them and probably tie in a little bit of my experience as both a science teacher and now since August I'm a technology coach in a school district that's adopting a one-to-one program. So first off, the Apple Classrooms of Tomorrow Today website. This little diagram, I kind of picked out a couple things. The two that spoke to me the most that I thought were interesting were that they're constant learners, so it'd be this 24/7 access to tools and resources, and that's true. I mean, our students, especially when I get further into the Prensky articles, students are learning more outside of school than in school currently, as far as 21st century learners go. They learn better from technology, they learn better from each other, and they can do it any time of day. I mean, even if I can't sleep at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'll find a somewhat boring but kind of interesting article, hoping that I'll fall asleep, just pull it up on my phone. I mean, we have so much access to information, and there's no time constraint. We're not closing books at 3 o'clock and going home. So I think that's very unique to 21st century learners compared to older generations. The other thing that I thought was interesting and unique is the social and emotional connection 21st century learners feel to their learning. Students have much more ownership of their work when they know that it's going to be on the internet, available for everyone to see. It's not just writing a not very good paper that only the teacher is going to see and give you a C on it. It's, you need to make this video, you need to put it on Facebook, and all of your classmates are going to see it at least, and then maybe other people down the road. So that is a huge accountability piece, driven socially, and and then if the students are more accountable, then they're putting more effort into their work, and then they have a better sense of pride because they're really pushing themselves to do the best. So I thought that was pretty unique. I was a student who was just like, oh, I don't really care what this teacher thinks of me, so I'm just going to write whatever down. Well, if I was in the classroom now, I am in the classroom now, online in this class, I want to make sure I do a good job, and make sure I give information that's relevant and produce a good product. So those were the two from the Apple Classrooms I liked. And by the way, these are just really rough notes, but I wanted to give you something to look at besides my giant head. So then the P21, the Framework for 21st Century Learning, we've all seen this quite a bit now. The biggest thing that stood out to me from this website and just going through the articles here is just that students are critical thinkers and creative learners and communicators and collaborators. It's not just reading and retaining, it's creating after learning about something. So it's retaining, and then it's creating, and then it's collaborating and maybe figuring out how to make it better, or maybe learn something else from somebody who gives you feedback. I mean, it's really producing original material and not filling out a worksheet. It would be more like making a worksheet, or, I mean, realistically, more like making a video or making a blog or writing something, or making a web page. I mean, it's really about creating, and it's just not rote anymore. These students are bored to death by rote activities, by just reading, memorizing, and then regurgitating. That just doesn't hold their attention, and a lot of times that's why they're on their phones, that's why they're checked out, and that's why they're learning more at home, because they have more engaging ways to get the same information. So if their mind isn't engaged in critical thinking or some sort of creating mindset, I don't think the students are interested. And Prensky talks a lot about that too, that, I mean, they could pay attention, but they're choosing not to because there's much more efficient ways of getting the information. Okay, so let's see what else I had here. Just more about how they're communicators. I already talked about collaboration, and it's just students are more engaged with each other when it comes to their learning. As you know, it's not just copying from somebody else. It's more of a discussion and more of brainstorming, and just like I said, creative thinking. Okay, so now we get into Prensky. He always has so much to say about this stuff. So 21st century learners, another characteristic is that they're digital natives. I mean, they don't know life before technology. I mean, Facebook is getting to the point where these kids were barely, I mean, the young students now were born after Facebook was invented, and their whole lives are going to be documented on Facebook. And my experiences in high school, and it's getting to the point where a lot of these kids were almost, even high schoolers are almost born after Facebook was invented. It came out in the early 2000s. So they just don't understand life without technology. So, you know, as a technology coach, I'm kind of a translator. I had technology in college and had to use computers and websites and things, and just grew up using technology and learning how to use technology because nobody above me could teach me. So I kind of figured it out on my own, so I have this unique kind of translating ability between the immigrants and the natives. And so my job as a technology coach is to come in and tackle this problem that Prensky cites as one of the biggest problems, and help the teacher immigrants kind of talk to the digital natives in their own, you know, in their language. And I can see where the immigrants are coming from. I mean, when I was real young, I had to memorize phone numbers, or I would just walk down the street to my friend's house, and you know, now students just text. You know, I text. Immigrants even, you know, digital immigrants text now. So it's different, and it's I do agree that with Prensky here that this is a pretty big issue. I mean, it's job security for me, and like I said before, the kids just aren't engaged. If, you know, it'd be like if you were sitting in a class and the teacher was speaking in a totally different language, you probably wouldn't be paying very much attention either, because you wouldn't know what was going on. And it's pretty, I mean, if you think about it like that, maybe it's not quite as extreme, but it's down the same, you know, it's kind of along the same lines. You know, the kids just don't respond. That's just not what they're used to. That's not what they know, especially the very younger kids. And this problem is going to be probably more difficult for the kids younger as they get older too, because I think in high school you see more of the lecturing and the taking of notes, and so it's pretty important that we combat this problem starting as soon as possible. So let's see some other notes. The digital youth summary. Well, like I said, I mean, phones and devices, these are fixtures for kids nowadays. They're not a toy. They're, I mean, a fixture. Even, I mean, for some of us, how many of us go halfway to work and realize we forget our phone and turn around and risk being 5 or 10 minutes late because we had to have our phone? I know I've done it. I mean, it's a fixture now, and if people know how to get a hold of you by text, and you can't respond, they're gonna think something's wrong, or fear of missing out, might happen to you. And so these devices are really becoming fixtures, and that's, I mean, true for a lot of us, and it's also true for probably all 21st century learners. And then, like I said before, because these devices are fixtures, they're learning more from their peers through their devices. They're learning more outside of school. They have more motivation to learn from their peers. And like I said, their teachers just aren't speaking their language in their classroom, so they're finding other ways to get information. I mean, they're still learning, it's just not in the traditional way a lot of us were taught. And then I've kind of hit on it a lot. This is kind of the main point in the Prensky article about turning on the lights. Students just learn more outside of school. Their teachers aren't teaching them as much as they can learn in a short amount of time from their peers. I mean, that's not always the case, and a lot of teachers are working to change that and improving their teaching strategies, because as professionals you should kind of brush up on the latest technology and the newest methodologies. So and that's kind of what that's kind of what we're trying to do too, is just try to make school more worthwhile for these kids. They're going to be learning outside of school. Well, if teachers can help them, guide them better, that's what teaching is moving towards too, is to teach these 21st century learners with these characteristics. Teachers are becoming facilitators. They're teaching kids how to learn instead of teaching them content, I guess. So that's about it. So that's some characteristics of 21st century learners. They're constantly learning. They're constantly learning more outside of school than in school. These devices, these phones, are becoming fixtures for these students. They're thinking more critically. They're thinking more creatively. Just they're more social learners. There's more collaborating. I mean, communication is so much easier on the internet, and they're just passing ideas back and forth and growing on them, and they're just all in all very, very different than other generations of learners. So thanks for listening. I know I said a lot, but I'm looking forward to reading some more articles and giving you some more thoughts. Well, thanks a lot.